Hello guys, in this video we're going to go over inspecting a web page and seeing how its HTML and CSS is created. The reason that you may want to do this is it's a fantastic way to copy cool stuff that you find on other websites into your own, or you can use it as a base and just kind of customize it. It'll just give you a good idea if you find something that's really cool. You can do this for any website that you come across. In order to do this, we're going to have to open up the developer console. So there's a few different ways you can open the developer console. We can either press F12 or we can right click on the part of the website, the element that we want to inspect, and we can click inspect. So that's what we're going to do here. Let's say that we want to see how this text is made or created. We can right click on it and then hit inspect. And it pops open your developer console, this pane right here. Now, the one thing you want to make sure you're under is the Elements tab of the console. There are some different tabs here. The only one we care about for this video is the Elements tab. You should notice that the element we clicked on, we right-clicked and hit Inspect on, is already highlighted right there. We can see that that element is an H2 or a heading 2. We can also see that this element has a class applied to it, a class called text, and it also has a class called text light. And those are the styling, the CSS that's applied to this element. We can hover over these different elements within the website, and we can see where they're located by just looking on the left on the actual web page there. Now with HTML, a lot of it is nested inside, and you'll see that nesting by this little arrow right here. So let's take this this header right here. We can tell that oh wow, I just actually learned something new myself. I had no clue that you can actually drag around the elements and it'll actually change it on the web page. That's pretty cool. Anyways, we can actually click on the header right here and we can see what's inside of it, what's been nested within this element. We can tell that there's another div, and within this div, we can see the actual links over there that allow us to navigate around the page. There is one other thing that's within this header, and it's this second div right here. And this div contains a button, which is made up of this SVG, a scalable vector graphic icon. And clicking this button just toggles the website from a dark to light mode, vice versa. So we can easily inspect and see what HTML elements are making up the part of the website. Let's go back to here. Cool. So this is the element that we originally inspected, this heading 2 text. Um, Actually, we're going to inspect this right here. So this is a hint that you'll see within the website. And this hint is located in a few different places across the website. So if we wanted to see how that was made, for example, we could right click that. We can hit inspect and you'll see that HTML element highlighted over in your inspector. Now, one thing to mention right here is that it actually highlighted this element right here. However, if you kind of hover your mouse over, you'll see that the element truly starts within this div right here. And there's content within that that helps make up this whole hint component. We can tell that this div, it has 3 different CSS classes applied to it. One, W100, and we can actually see those classes right here. This class isn't applied, it's scratched out, but this class is applied. And we can tell that it's applying a width of 100%, the W-100. We can also see that there is a class called card, and there's your card class right here. And this is the actual class. It's kind of making up the whole little box that you see. And then we can tell that there's a class called BG Dark, and you'll see that class right here. And that's what gives this little hint, the actual background color that you see. Now, one cool thing that we can do within the HTML inspector is we can actually play with the styles and just kind of see what they would look like if they were different. One thing that we can do here is we can click this little color icon and we can actually change the color right within the website. So let's do that. And you'll notice that the element changed. It actually changed to the new blue color that we selected, which is pretty cool. There are some different things that we can do as well by using this actual element style right here. So let's go back to this what is HTML and let's inspect that. And you can see it's highlighted again. Cool. Now, what if we wanted to play around? This is a heading too, but what if we wanted to make it a little bit bigger, a little bit more emphasis on it? We could play around with what it would look like if we maybe increase the font size to 50 pixels. And you can see immediately that that element grows to a bigger font size, the 50 pixels that we just specified. And we can turn that on and off to kind of see the difference. And you can add a whole bunch of different styles here. There's a font weight, which allows you to kind of bold an element. So now we can see that it's a little bit bolder, and I kind of like that. But you can turn these different styles on and off. Another cool thing that I like to do every once in a while with some websites that have a background color that I may not like is you can select by looking at the elements, you can kind of tell which element is controlling the whole page. Notice how the whole page lights up. And we see this element has a layout dark class with the background color. We could try to play around with that just to see what it does. Change it to a red. And you'll notice that most of the website's background color actually changes to that little red color. One little cool thing just to throw in there is when you have the color picker selected right here, this is what you currently see on the screen is a water or it's a color picker. So whatever color you're currently hovering on, if you click that, you should notice that it automatically changed to that color. So that another cool feature of the inspector. I use that sometimes if I really like a color on another website. Let's go to one of my favorite websites, for example, this green. I could inspect this green. I can tell that this is kind of the green background color here. So you could kind of copy that color if you wanted to, or you could use a color picker and see what color it is. Awesome. So one other thing to realize is by playing with the styling within the inspector here, these are temporary changes. It's not actually changing the way the website was coded. So on a page refresh, all of the styles kind of gets reset to the original way the web page was coded to look. But it's a great tool to use when you're just when you're a little bit more advanced, a little bit more on complex websites. There's a few other great features of the HTML inspector that we can go over. One of them, as we mentioned, is how HTML elements are nested. At some point, you might want to know exactly what elements that this heading to is nested under, and you can see that right here. It's kind of like a trail leading. Every web page has an HTML element right here, as you can see. Then there's a heading element, and all of the actual web page's content goes within the body element. So if we were to click on our H2 here, you can kind of see the trail of elements it has to go down until it actually hits the H2, the heading 2. And you can also see the classes, the text, and the text light that are applied to that element. So that's one other good thing to know. One of the other useful features I use the inspector for is to determine how much padding or margin that a certain element has. So let's click on this element, for example. You can see the two little green bars on the outside of the element. Those are what's called the padding. It kind of gives a little bit of space to the element so it's not mushed up against the edges. And one of the things you can do here is you can also play with that padding. I'm going to give it an obnoxious value so we notice the padding increase on the left. And you can see that padding kind of change there. So you can play with that a bit. You can give it a little bit of a margin. So what you'll notice here is that this element is actually going to be pushed off the top. It's going to come down a bit if I give it margin on the top. So, and now you'll see a little orange bar at the top, that 50 pixels of margin that we just applied. You'll also notice that it added the styling of that margin top right on the element itself. Once again, if we refresh the page, all of that gets reset. So now it's no longer there. But it's another cool way for you to just play around with the styling of a website. Let's see here. Those are pretty much the some of the main things that I use the HTML inspector for. There's a lot of different other things that we can do within the inspector, but I think that's pretty much a good overview of it for now. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments below. And any other things that you'd like to see, just let me know down there as well. Thank you for watching.